Hello. So this is the part 2 of antitubercular drugs and it will be on the second line antitubercular drug. These are the contents. The first is characteristic of second line antitubercular drugs, then classification of a second line antitubercular drug, and then individual group discussion, that is a group 2, group 3 and group 4, and the finally summary. These are the drugs so-called second line because they have a lower efficacy and the higher toxicity. And because of a higher toxicity, there is a poor patient tolerability. They are effective against the resistant strain. The Mycobacterium tuberculosis resistance to the first line antitubercular drugs will respond to the second line drugs. So they have a place in the management of a resistant tuberculosis. As this drug is highly toxic, the monitoring of adverse drug reaction is must while prescribing this drug. Of course, these drugs are expensive. Here is the classification of antitubercular drugs. Out of this, we have discussed already the first line antitubercular drugs. And in the second line list, you can see in the below group 2, that is injectable, group 3, that is a fluoroquinolones, and the group is rest of the other oral drugs. Here the group 2, 3 and 4 and 5, they are the second line antitubercular drugs. Here the grouping of antitubercular drugs according to the hierarchy in efficacy and the priority in the use. The group 2 is the injectable, mostly includes aminoglycoside. Group 3 is the best bactericidal oral fluoroquinolones. Group 4 is rest of the second line oral antitubercular agents, and the group 5 is the agent with unclear efficacy that is not recommended by the WHO for the routine use in the resistance tuberculosis management. Now we will describe the individual group. Again, there is a protocol how to describe the whole group. The first is mechanism of action of that group. Second is the action on the type of mycobacteria, whether it is effective against the resistant strain or the atypical mycobacteria, or the action on the Mycobacterium avium complex. Cross resistance, adverse effects profile and the monitoring of it, and the doses of individual drug, and out of all the drugs in the group, which drug is selected for the management of resistance tuberculosis. Now let's discuss the group one by one. The second group that includes the injectable drugs, that is aminoglycoside, kanamycin and amikacin, and second is capreomycin, that is similar to the or alternative to the aminoglycoside group. The first is injectable drugs, that is aminoglycoside derivatives. They share the common mechanism of action that inhibit the protein synthesis, and action is apart from aerobic gram-negative bacteria, the kanamycin and amikacin have a particular action to the resistant strain, that is streptomycin resistance as well as isoniazid and rifampicin resistant strain. So practically the first three drug, that is streptomycin, isoniazid, rifampicin is resistant, then kanamycin and amikacin will work. They have a cross resistance. So if the streptomycin is already utilized, kanamycin and amikacin cannot be included from the second line drugs in the management of MDR-TB. Adverse drug reaction, again say the same toxicity, that equally nephrotoxic, but they produces a less vestibular toxicity than the hearing loss. So patients should be warned to report if tinnitus or the vertigo occur. They should consult to the physician immediately. Regular monitoring of audiometry as well as renal function test is must while prescribing kanamycin and the amikacin. Now the differences between the kanamycin and the amikacin. The kanamycin is more toxic but less expensive. Because of a less cost, the RNTCP preferred this drug to include into the MDR regimen, MDR tuberculosis management regimen. The dose is starting from 750 mg to highest 1 gram per day. Now the amikacin. Amikacin is less toxic but more expensive. Other countries prefer this drug. Now the second drugs in the group 2, that is capreomycin. Here the mycin, the suffix is similar to the suffix of the aminoglycoside group. So chemically it is a cyclic polypeptide antibiotic. So chemically it differ from the aminoglycoside, but pharmacological properties are similar to the aminoglycoside. They having a same mechanism of action, inhibit the protein synthesis. Action is they have a CDL action on the mycobacteria. They effective against the resistant strain. The resistance to the streptomycin, resistance to the isoniazid and rifampicin, as well as resistance to the amikacin. So the mycobacteria that is a resistance to the aminoglycoside that respond to the capreomycin share the similar toxicity, that is a ototoxicity as well as nephrotoxicity. So audiometry and renal function test monitoring is a must after prescribing a capreomycin. On the parenteral administration intramuscularly, it produces sometimes the injection site pain, fever, rash and the eosinophilia. So it is used as an alternative to aminoglycoside. So here the first is a priority to the first line antitubercular drugs, that is a HRZE. If needed, can add the streptomycin from the first line. If resistant to the streptomycin, then there is a role of a second line, the group 2, that is aminoglycoside. And if resistance to the streptomycin and aminoglycoside, then there is a role of capreomycin. Now there is a group 3. The group 3 includes oral fluoroquinolones compound. The fluoroquinolones having the various generation, out of that moxifloxacin, levofloxacin, ofloxacin and ciprofloxacin. These 4 drugs having the action against the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Now the fluoroquinolones. The mechanism of action of the fluoroquinolones, it inhibits the DNA polymerase, it exerts the bactericidal activity in the mycobacteria. The specific features is it is sensitive to all the types of mycobacteria, that is M42 Mycobacterium avium complex as well as atypical mycobacteria. In recent era, the fluoroquinolones gained the popularity among the all second line antitubercular drugs because it is a highly potent bactericidal orally administration drug, as well as it penetrates the cell and they kill the microorganism inside the macrophage, and it has a lesser incidence of a side effects. It is a well tolerated second line anti-tubercular drug. Let's see the side effects profile. The gastrointestinal tract, that is abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, hypersensitivity reaction, rarely the severe reaction occurs, and the moxifloxacin particularly associated with the CNS side effects, that is mild to moderate, rarely the seizure or tremor with the high doses or pre-existing disease condition, and the QT prolongation. And it causes the joint damage as well as cartilage damage, particularly in the pediatric patient. That's why it is contraindicated. Again, this is the picture showing the adverse drug reaction. So among the fluoroquinolones, the most active is moxifloxacin, followed by the levofloxacin, ofloxacin and ciprofloxacin. The ciprofloxacin having a more action on the atypical mycobacteria. That's why the ciprofloxacin is preferred for the management of an infection caused by atypical mycobacteria. Now the moxifloxacin, it is the most active fluoroquinolones, but it associated with more seizure as well as tremor, that is a central nervous system related side effect, as well as it is a contraindicated for the cardiovascular patient the receiving the antiarrhythmic drug because it associated with the serious side effects, that is a QT prolongation. That's why the moxifloxacin is not preferred. Now the levofloxacin. The levofloxacin is the good fluoroquinolones in the sense that it has a high potency as well as good pharmacokinetic profile. The oral bioavailability is 100%, that is similar to the IV administered dose. It is longer acting, so single daily dose is sufficient and suitable for the daily regimen, and it is associated with the less side effects. And that is a reason that in India, the levofloxacin is preferred for the standardized regimen for the MDR-TB management regimen by the revised National Tuberculosis Control Program in the 2016. Now let's see the doses of various fluoroquinolones. The moxifloxacin is a 400 mg, ofloxacin 800 mg, and levofloxacin is used as a 1000 mg per day dose. Group 4 includes the rest of the oral drugs, the oral second line drugs, that is the ethionamide and prothionamide. The drugs in the same row have share the similar characteristic. The cycloserine and the teracidone, the para-aminosalicylic acid, rifabutin and rifampicin, they are the rifampicin congeners, and novel anti-tubercular drug, that is bedaquiline. Now let's see the ethionamide and prothionamide. The ETO is a short form of ethionamide, and PTO it is short form of a prothionamide. Ethionamide and prothionamides are similar to the isoniazid, having the same mechanism of action that interfere with the mycolic acid synthesis and cell wall inhibition, but it involves a different gene, ETO. The mutation of that gene is responsible for the resistance. As compared to the isoniazid, the ethionamide having a lower efficacy. It has an action on the atypical mycobacteria as well as Mycobacterium avium complex. The tolerability of ethionamide is poor because the occurrence of a frequent adverse drug reaction that involves abdominal discomfort, hepatitis, peripheral neuritis, so pyridoxine prophylaxis is must, behavioral changes, endocrinal disturbance, that is impotence and menstrual irregularities, and long-term use is associated with the goiter. The ethionamide is included in the standardized regimen for the MDR-TB management by the RNTCP according to the 2016 guideline, and it is used for controlling the Mycobacterium avium complex infection that is common in the AIDS patient, and it is a reserved drug for the leprosy. It should be start with the lower dose, that is a 250 mg per day, and it should be increases every 5 to 6 days, means every week. Maximum is a 750 mg per day dose should be used. Now the next drug is a group 4, is a cycloserine and teracidone. The short form of a cycloserine is capital C and S. The mechanism of action. The cycloserine is a D-alanine analog. It interferes with the cell wall synthesis. Here the alanine is converted into L-alanine. The L-alanine is converted into D-alanine by the help of a L-alanine racemase enzyme. The cycloserine bind with the L-alanine racemase enzyme and don't allow the L-alanine to convert it into D-alanine. Now the D-alanine in the second step with the help of a D-alanine synthetase enzyme is incorporated into the pentapeptide structure. Now cycloserine bind with this D-alanine synthetase and don't allow the D-alanine to form a pentapeptide structures. So the pentapeptide structure is not formed, that is important constituents of the peptidoglycan cell wall. So finally the cell wall synthesis will suffer. It is a bacteriostatic in nature. It has an action on the first line resistance mycobacteria, that is a isoniazid and rifampicin resistance mycobacterial strain, and Mycobacterium avium complex apart from the gram-positive and the chlamydia and E. coli organism. It will produce neurological side effect. So neurological adverse drug reactions of the cycloserine is a sleepiness, headache, tremor, slurring of a speech, altered behavior, and either the depression or the frank psychosis. In severe cases there may be seizure or the convulsion. So to decrease its neurotoxicity and prevent the convulsion and seizure, the pyridoxine 100 mg per day should be prescribed along with the cycloserine. It is contraindicated for the patient having the history of mental illness or the seizure or the convulsion. The starting dose of a cycloserine is 250 mg per day. Depending upon the patient tolerability, it should be increases maximum 750 mg per day, provided the adult body weight must be greater than 45 kg per day. It is one of the drugs included in the management of MDR-TB standard regimen by the RNTCP according to the 2016 guideline. So next to cycloserine there is a teracidone. The teracidone is a two molecule of a cycloserine. having the same mechanism of action and the same antibacterial property. But how it is a differ from cycloserine? It is claimed to be less neurotoxic. The reported incidence of a neurological side effects with teracidone is less as compared to the cycloserine. So it is an important substituent of the cycloserine, particularly in the genitourinary tuberculosis management, because the teracidone achieves the higher concentration as well as sustains long-lasting concentration in urine. The dose of the teracidone also similar to the cycloserine, that is a 500 milligram to 750 milligram per day in the adult, provided the body weight greater than 45 kilogram of the adult weight. The next is para-aminosalicylic acid. The short form is PAS. It is very oldest anti-tubercular drugs, chemically similar to the sulfonamide and act by the same mechanism. It inhibits the folate synthetase enzyme in the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and that's why inhibit the folate synthesis and thereby inhibition of DNA synthesis of mycobacteria. The action is, it is a static and the least active drug, but it has a slow development of a resistance and it delays the development of resistance of other more active drug. Regarding the adverse drug reaction, the para-aminosalicylic acid having a poor acceptability because the frequent epigastric pain, nausea and anorexia. So more frequent GI disturbance side effect is there. Apart from that, rashes, fever, malaise, hypokalemia, liver damage and goiter are the other adverse effect. It is used as a sodium salt. So chances of sodium overload, that is cautious for the cardiovascular disease patient, and it is available as a calcium salt also. The calcium salt enhances the gastric intolerance, that is the basic adverse drug reaction of para-aminosalicylic acid. So what is the clinical status of para-aminosalicylic acid? It is combined with the other anti-tubercular drugs not the purpose of adding the efficacy to this drug, but when it combined together, it delays the development of a resistance to the other anti-tubercular drugs and it enhances the effectiveness of the other active drug. So it is included in the standardized regimen for the control of MDR tuberculosis, but when four serial drugs, that is the aminoglycoside group, fluoroquinolones group and the other oral group, these three group of second line anti-tubercular drugs, serial drugs, when cannot be given plus two static drugs, that is ethambutol from the first line and the static drugs from the second line is a cycloserine. If it is not given together, this either of the six drugs cannot be used. At that time there is a substitution of para-aminosalicylic acid is done. It should be given with the dose of a 200 milligram per kilogram of a days. So total dose per day is a 10 to 20 gram larger dose, but it must be given in the divided doses. Last two drugs are the rifampicin congeners, that is rifabutin and the rifapentin. The rifabutin, it is chemically related to the rifampicin as well as mechanism, but the action is different. It has a less action on the mycobacteria but more action on the Mycobacterium avium complex. The majority isolate, that is a resistance to the rifampicin, that exhibit the cross resistance to. So the rifabutin is not the option for the treatment of MDR TB management. The important pharmacokinetic differences between the rifampicin and rifabutin is it is a weaker enzyme inducer. So rifabutin having a place in the management of a tuberculosis where there is a need of minimum drug interaction. So that is likely to occur in the HIV, the tuberculosis management in the HIV patient. The rifabutin having the action on the Mycobacterium avium complex and the minimum drug interaction with the anti-HIV drugs, it is the useful drugs for the management of a tuberculosis in the HIV patient. In the HIV patient, the antiretroviral drugs, that is the protease inhibitors and the non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, they undergo the drug-drug interaction in presence of a rifampicin. The rifampicin is a strong enzyme inducer. It enhances the metabolism of these two drugs and it causes therapeutic failure of anti-HIV drugs. So to minimize this drug-drug interaction, the rifampicin is replaced with the rifabutin. It is used for both treatment purpose as well as prophylactic purpose. In the prophylactics, the rifabutin can be given in the 300 mg per day in the alternative option to the azithromycin and the clarithromycin. For the treatment, it should be given in the combination of a 2 to 3 drugs. The dose is 600 mg per day. The rest of the drug also having the action on the Mycobacterium avium complex. The dose as well as adverse drug reaction that is similar to the rifampicin, that is abdominal symptoms, granulocytopenia, myalgia, etc. So this is about the rifabutin. Now the last drug is rifampicin. Rifampicin similar congeners to the rifampicin, same mechanism, same spectrum, same pharmacokinetic. It is also potential enzyme inducer and produces a drug-drug interaction as well as cross-resistant. So rifampicin is also not the option for the management of MDR tuberculosis. The differentiating features of a rifampicin from the rifampicin is longer half-life. The rifampicin half-life is 4 to 6 hours, while the rifampicin is having the half-life is 13 to 15 hours. So, the indication of a rifampicin is substitution of a rifampicin in the continuation phase, where it can be given a once or a twice a weekly instead of a daily regimen of the rifampicin. It is not suitable for the intensive therapy. It can be used a once a week regimen with the high dose of isoniazid and the rifampicin for the treatment of latent tuberculosis. So now the differentiating features between rifampicin, rifabutin and the rifampicin. The rifabutin, that is important essential components of the combination therapy in the management of a drug sensitive tuberculosis. Rifabutin, it is replacing the rifampicin in the management of tuberculosis in HIV patient, particularly caused by the Mycobacterium avium complex, and the rifampicin is a substitute of the rifampicin in the continuation phase only for the management of a drug sensitive tuberculosis. Now the last drug, that is bedaquiline. The short form of bedaquiline is BDQ. It is a novel, recently introduced drug for the management of tuberculosis. In the 2012, it is approved by the US FDA. It's brand name of a Serturo, and up to the 2015, it gets approved in the worldwide, all other countries. In the Indian market, it is available since 2016. It is a novel drug because it has a novel mechanism of action. It inhibits the Mycobacterium ATP synthetase and limiting the energy production and deprive the mycobacteria of the energy, and ultimately it die. The human ATP synthetase is very less sensitive to the bedaquiline, 20,000 times less sensitive to than the mycobacterial ATP synthetase. That's why it don't exert the effect on the human host cell. Now the action. It is bactericidal action. It has a very low minimum inhibitory concentration for both the strains, resistant strains, the MDR-TB strain, XDR-TB strain. It is effective against both sensitive, drug-sensitive mycobacteria as well as isoniazid and rifampicin resistance mycobacteria, that is MDR, and the second line resistance mycobacteria, that is extremely drug resistance XDR. Apart from mycobacteria, it has also action on the non-tubercle mycobacteria as well as Mycobacterium leprae. Now the resistance is developed to the bedaquiline due to mutation of ATP synthesis enzyme as well as by the efflux mechanism within the bacteria. The important point is it has a no cross resistance to the any first line and second line anti-tubercular drugs. So that keeps the option open for the management of extremely drug resistant tuberculosis. Regard to the pharmacokinetic, it is metabolized by the CYP3A4 enzyme. So any drug inhibitors of this enzyme or inducer of this enzyme, it will participate in the drug-drug interaction. Now the adverse drug reaction, it will produces the nausea, headache, arthralgia, QT prolongation and potentially hepatotoxic drug. As I said that it is approved in the it is approved in the 2012 by the US FDA, worldwide available 2015, and in India it is started by the RNTCP in 2016 at the selected center through the conditional access program. What are the indication and the recommendation for the bedaquiline use in the pulmonary tuberculosis? The first is it is used in the treatment of only the pulmonary multi-drug resistance tuberculosis in the adult patients greater than the 18 years of the age when no optimum regimen constructed. It is used along with the 3 to 4 sensitive other anti-tubercular drugs. The individual mycobacterial isolate must have undergone the drug sensitivity testing, and the selection of that sensitive drug should be added with the bedaquiline. It can be used maximum for the 24 week, that is 2 years of a duration. Each bedaquiline tablet should be taken with the meal. It must not be used for the sensitive tuberculosis or the extrapulmonary tuberculosis or non-tubercle mycobacterial infection. This drug has to spare from the other type of a tuberculosis. Otherwise, in future there may be a chances of a development of a resistance to this drug also. The woman should be non-pregnant while receiving the bedaquiline therapy, and they willing to remain non-pregnant throughout the treatment. Now, what is the dose? In the first 2 weeks, there is a 400 milligram dose. It is available in the strength of 100 milligram. So 4 tablets to be taken with meal. There is a maximum 7 days per week. So first 2 weeks there is a 400 milligram daily doses, and the third week to the 24th week the dose should be the 200 milligram, that should be taken 48-hour intervals 3 times per week. So total dose per week is a 600 milligram. You have to divide the 600 milligram in the 3 division, that is a 200 milligram. So 2 tablet to be taken 3 times in a week. But in between the 2 doses there must be a 48-hour dosing interval. So this is about the bedaquiline. The novel mechanism, ATP synthetase inhibitors, cross resistance, not at all. Then adverse drug reaction is GIT, headache, arthralgia, QT prolongation, and hepatotoxicity. And it is the recommended only for the pulmonary tuberculosis, but multi-drug resistance when all other regimen has failed with other sensitive drugs, and the 24th week duration, maximum 24 week of duration of the treatment. Oh no, it is an exhaustive second line anti-tubercular drugs, right? Take a break. But after a break, let's summarize the second line anti-tubercular drug again finally. So the first that is group 2, that is aminoglycoside, kanamycin and amikacin, ototoxicity and nephrotoxicity effective against the resistant strain, and kanamycin is included in the MDR TB management regimen. Capreomycin, that is alternative to aminoglycoside. The fluoroquinolones, that is best tolerated CDL second line anti-tubercular drugs, orally administration. The levofloxacin is the most effective and included in the MDR TB management. Then rest of the oral groups, that includes prothionamide and ethionamide, they are poorly tolerable, but it is included in the RNTCP management of resistance tuberculosis, as well as the Mycobacterium avium complex infection. Cycloserine, it has a no cross resistance to any first line and second line drugs, so it is definitely used in the intensive phase of the management of MDR tuberculosis. Then teracidone, that is particularly useful into the genitourinary tuberculosis, and para-amino salicylic acid, that is the oldest one. When 4 sedal drugs and 2 static drugs are contraindicated resistance or can't be used, at that time para-amino salicylic acid is added. Then rifabutin, that is the only drug replacement of a rifampicin in the tuberculosis management in the HIV patient. Then rifampicin, instead of a daily rifampicin, there is a twice or once or twice weekly regimen with the longer duration of action, that is rifampicin, but only in the continuation phase. It can't replace or can't be used in the intensive phase. The last one is bedaquiline, only in selected cases of the multi-drug resistance tuberculosis as well as extensive drug resistance tuberculosis management. In India, there are the states under the clinical trial of bedaquiline. Still we are waiting for the results. So finally the summary is the drug, second line drugs effective against the MDR tuberculosis is kanamycin from the aminoglycoside, levofloxacin from the fluoroquinolones, and other oral group includes ethionamide and the cycloserine. Same way in the treatment of a Mycobacterium avium complex, there is a, effective is the ciprofloxacin and the levofloxacin from the fluoroquinolones as well as rifabutin. So this is the end of a lecture. Thank you.